Why were you? Yeah.
He's here.
All right.
Yeah.
We
Hello.
were talking about you
Hey,
before
Josh.
you came in.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
You opened up so we could shut up.
Okay. Yeah. I won't ask what you were saying.
Yeah, don't.
Don't worry, it was good.
You know it had to all be good, Charles.
Not necessary. No. Some things are better left, unknown.
Yes.
How are we all doing?
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Girls, so I have another class at 3:00.
Okay.
So just want you to know that.
Okay. So if you're going to be
Well,
meeting us at 3.
While we're confessing, I won't be here tomorrow either.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, tomorrow is Wednesday. So you won't be here in the morning, huh?
No, I have another doctor's appointment.
Oh, okay. I'm sad to hear that.
Yes, so am I.
Yeah. Are things okay?
We're trying to determine with my lower lumbar or what if I've got degeneration, pinched nerves, or whatever. But I'm having a lot of difficulty in the lower back and thigh walking and things like that. So
Me too. I'm going to.
yeah,
I'm having
Yes.
an MRI tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm
This
having
is
the
why- Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm having the CT scan in the morning.
Uh,
Well, I hate
We're on the
to
same page.
tell you this, but I can empathize with you because after my weekend of moving furniture and all kinds of fun stuff up and down stairs endlessly
Oh.
all weekend long, pretty much so my whole left leg is shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm limping around like, like Methuselah,
Yes. All right.
Well,
Well, hopefully
this is why we retire, so we have time to go to all of our doctor appointments.
Right.
There we go.
That seems to be it. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I try to avoid I try to avoid going to the doctor as much as possible.
I do too, and
Me too.
this got to the point where I was having too much trouble walking. So
Hmm. Yeah. Well, my solution is I know what this is from, and it's
Yeah.
basically I have to keep in mind that I'm not 25 or 30 anymore.
right. Yes.
And so,
yours will probably get better.
Yeah.
After,
well, I'm going to make sure it gets better because today I'm going to go see a massage therapist who's going to
that'll help. Yes.
and try to keep care of that. So
Hope you get good news, John.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I'm not going to do any back surgery. I know that. So I'll live with the pain if I have to, I guess. I hear there's too many horror stories about back surgery. So.
Yeah, I know a few of those. Anyway, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Who do we got? We got a whole 6 people here. Okay. If I could only read. With my, another thing. So, okay. So Linda's here. Okay. And then Karen and Eloise and Susan and John. All right. Don't see Bob. He sent some things in. I wonder where he's at. Well, he may come in later. So, Karen,
Yeah.
because you have to leave early, we'll start with you. Okay, is that all right?
Okay. Yep, that's fine.
And that way, you'll.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, we try to do that for anybody who's got to scoot out of here early. I don't want them to miss. So let's see. All right, Karen, I know you're in here. Come on.
Oh, there we are.
We are. Okay. All right. Now. Okay. Now I may have to turn it. Where's the? Oh, here. Okay. Let's do that, and then let's blow it up.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Wow.
That's nice, Karen.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
So-
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Karen, if you will, tell just everybody in the group, kind of who this is, why you did this, the medium, what you did it in,
Okay,
anything, just kind of fill them in.
yeah. First of all, this is my husband who passed away 4 years ago. And I did it maybe, it was probably only 6 months before he passed away. But I used to go to a drawing class. By the way, I lived in Asheville. And I used to go to a drawing class, and, they had lights and, for a model and, all this. And I convinced him to come with me for, just when there was no class going on, just so I could use the lighting. And I asked him to bring that hat. I thought it was interesting. And so I put him underneath, the light. I had him set and I put him underneath the light. And all of a sudden that shadow just came across his face. And I thought, wow, that is cool. So I was taking photos, by the way. I didn't do this.
You didn't do it alla prima or live. Yeah.
Right. So I took photos, and this was my favorite photo, and I thought it was cool that you really don't see his eye. I mean, you kind of have an idea that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my favorite things about it were just how it came across his nose. The light just hit the nose.
Mm-hmm.
And also the hat is a corduroy hat. And my painting, I thought, ended up looking like corduroy. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, but it worked, and it looks that way.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the background behind this painting.
Okay. And how big is this?
Oh, it is,
Roughly.
I don't know whether it's 16 by 20 or roughly that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, looking at the proportions, and it could be just, the distortion of the camera, I would kind of have guessed maybe 14 by 18,
That could be it too. And that was another thing. I liked it off center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
it looks like a portrait proportion, not a standard like 16 by 18.
Okay, yeah, that could very well be.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody got any comments to open up with? Anything you want to say about it?
I like the position it's in. I like the angle, the way he's turned. He's looking forward. He's looking to his right, and therefore putting him in that position works really good. You did a good job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like the lighting, the shadows and highlights, the nose, the upper lip, and then the coloration that you used for the flesh tones. Very nice.
Thank you. By the way, his ear, which seems like it's more white looking than the rest of his face, I have a problem in that I tend to copy exactly what's there, and that was like that. And I think he was, I don't know, his ear was that color. And instead of fixing it, I just, had to paint it exactly the way it was. So,
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, my husband hated this painting.
Oh, okay.
He did not like this at all. I mean, he never said that.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't the type of person that would have said that.
Mm-hmm.
But, he just never, I had a perfect place where I was going to put it in our house. And he kept trying to find some place behind the door to put it, So I could tell he did not particularly like it.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of things I can say about it. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to start off. Here's the things that work really well with this. Okay. And that is the composition is really set up very nicely with the lighting, and having that strong contrast between light and shadow is a really nice element, to have in the painting. You've handled all of that very well. In particular, the thing I wanted to point out to everyone, there is a cast shadow on this from the frame on the top of the painting.
Yeah.
But please notice that starting in the lower right-hand corner of the painting, it's pretty dark and cool. And then as it goes diagonally across the painting, it gets lighter and warmer, right? And so it's not a flat background. And so that helps give this illusion of depth and space that you wouldn't have if you just put a flat color down. The other thing is, having that warmer color up there in the upper left kind of helps balance out the painting, And again, she's got some fairly cool temperatures and colors and shadows, on him. But that darker shadow in the background is cooler in temperature and still sits back there, so it doesn't flatten out the painting. And so all of that's working really, really well. Okay. About the only thing I would suggest, and I'm not saying change the painting, but
Yeah.
if you did something like this again, the thing I would think about is that shadow, right? The values within that shadow, you could probably lighten them just a little bit, okay? So that you got just a little more of the structure in there without making it light. I'm not saying make it real light, but just a little bit, like 1 or 2 steps of value lighter, so that it's not quite as sharp and as hard as it is, okay? I mean, it's
If the shadow were lighter,
Mhm.
then wouldn't you see the eye?
You might, but again, you're not going to see it a lot. You're just, you're going to know it's there. And, I mean, I'm looking at a photograph of the painting, so you may actually be able to see more there than is in the photo. But, just based on what I'm looking at, I would probably pull the shadows back just a little bit,
Okay.
And I'm talking, just a little. And I'm not talking about the shadows on the back of the neck or under the jawline or anything like that. It's just that one shadow, that, big triangular shadow across the face.
Okay.
It's the right shape, everything's fine with it. I personally would just make it just a little bit lighter, okay?
Okay.
And in doing so, here's my reasoning, yes, you would get a little more structure in the head, but the other thing is it would not be equal to or greater than the shadow in the background, okay? And so
Okay.
it would give you another range of value. Okay.
Okay.
And again, it's a real subtle thing, but it's something that, if I were going to do something like that, I would probably address. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. But I mean, it really is a beautiful painting. You got it really framed very nicely. The frame doesn't compete, with the painting or anything, and it all works very, very nicely. So now I bet you that you have this hanging somewhere where you can look at it all the time, don't you?
I do. I have it in my bedroom.
Right.
And it, I do.
Good.
I don't know.
Good. Yeah. And so if you've taken it from whatever door he wanted to hide it behind, now you've got it front and center, which is good. Okay, so let's look at your other painting. And again, this is of him, right?
No, it is not.
Oh, it is not of him. Okay.
This is not of him.
Okay.
That same drawing class that I mentioned in the first place, where we had the light up and everything else, this gentleman used to come in and draw. And he was, he was in his 90s at that time. Somebody had to bring him because he couldn't drive. But I loved his look, and I asked him one day, during a break, I said, Harold, would you please come up and just sit up here for a minute? And he didn't want to do it underneath the light. But I talked him into it, and he sat there for 30 seconds. He didn't want to be there, but I took one photo, and this was it. And I just thought he was such an elegant man. He's gone now. It's been a while, so he's gone. But the one thing I will say was that I had a hard time with his hair. I didn't have a hard time. I was afraid to do it. I had the face in already and everything else, and I thought, I'm going to screw this up with his hair. And it just took just a few brush strokes, and it worked. At least in my opinion, it worked. And I was so pleased with his hair there that, and this was it. And I have to say that I love this painting. So I had a giclée made of it because I wanted to give him the original. And he had the original, and now his family has it. And this is the giclée.
Oh, okay. All right. So now, did you do this in oil? Is that the medium?
This might have been an oil.
Okay. All right. And then it looks like, it's almost an alla prima painting because you've got a lot of real direct brush work in there. But now you said, he only stayed there for 30 seconds. So you probably painted this from a photo, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I guess my question is this, okay. If you're painting from a photo, did you have any particular reason why you chose to leave the clothing less finished?
I guess I wanted it, I obviously have this tendency to get very detailed, and yet I felt like I could get looser with his clothing.
Okay.
And that's what I did. Right or wrong, that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, I'm not asking because you didn't get it wrong. I'm just asking, what your thinking was behind it.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, in a way, I like the fact that the clothing isn't finished and that the canvas isn't all covered. And the fact that it looks kind of tentative, like you just knocked it in real quick, sets up a contrast between that area of the painting and then the face, the focal point where you want to look at, right?
Yeah.
And I would kind of venture to go so far as to say, if you had filled all of that in and finished it, equal to the face, it would have made a less exciting painting. Okay.
See, so, I think so too. I like that part of it.
Yeah, and so sometimes, it's like you don't have to finish everything in a painting. Sometimes you want to leave sections of the painting more suggestive, so that the viewer, they understand what it is, but they don't get stuck, in looking at that area of the painting, and they get to the focal point. Okay? So that's just my take on it. Now, I do have a question. You said you had some reservation about painting the hair. And and I will say, okay, the thing about hair is, hair usually is made up out of shapes. It's not individual strands. And you see a lot of people sit there and they try to put in every little hair. And it just drives you crazy. But it really is like little clumps, shapes, and things like that. And you kind of indicated that, with the way you painted it. Now, I guess my other question is, did you put down the gray as a base color and then work light over it? Or did you, in fact, use the white of the canvas and just put in the gray? Or do you remember?
I don't, you know what? I don't remember. I don't remember. It seems to me that I would have had that reddish color that was behind them. I think that was there.
Okay.
So I think I had to paint over it.
Mhm.
Now this makes me wonder that maybe this was acrylic.
Mm.
Yes, no?
Could be, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
you don't have any like really finely blended edges and things like that, so it could be acrylic.
uh,
You know, just looking at the way that the red and the black kind of come together. It's,
uh,
yeah, probably a little more like acrylic than oil. Um, okay. But again, you know, the reason I'm asking about how you know, what kind of process you use for painting the hair is that normally, okay, you would put a block of value down, you know, for like the darker areas of the hair, which really not all that dark. In most of it, it's probably about a number, you know, 4, number 3 value, and then you would come back in with your lights on top of it and kind of chisel out some of those shapes, you know, that the light is hitting. And that's kind of a standard kind of normal process for a lot of portrait painters. But you always want to get that darker value down first, particularly if you're working in oil. You know, you want to
yeah.
dark to light, and the same is pretty much true in acrylics.
I
Yeah.
really like right up on top where you see those fine lines, but it didn't look like I was drawing fine lines. It just something that happened.
Yeah, it's just a brush stroke. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've loved this
And
painting.
it also appears, and let's blow this up, we can look more closely. It kind of appears like the paint when you did that was fairly wet because you seem to have picked up some of the red.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
So I don't know. Either you put that background in around him last, and it's still wet when you went back into the hair, if that were acrylic, you know, and or if it was oil, then that might still be wet and working into that edge. You get that transition with
Yeah,
that little bit of red showing through.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. At any rate, it works. It works well, you know, I think overall. Anybody got any comments, any questions, anything they see that they want to mention? Come on. You've had your coffee today. Let's hear it.
I think it was a nice gesture that you gave the original to him and his family.
Oh, yeah,
Something to remember him by.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, you know, that's always a nice thing, you know, with people that you meet, friends, things like that. If you do paint them, a lot of times, you know, making sure that they have that so that they can pass it on to their family. It's kind of a very nice thing. You know, I actually
To
have.
me,
Yes.
oh, I was just going to say, to me, he is there's an elegance to him and a kindness to him in his eyes, you know. So
Where did you have the print made, Karen?
where did I what?
Have the print made?
Oh, it was done in Asheville.
Okay. Was that I mean, where do you go to have that done? I mean, what type of store, what type of place was it?
The acrylic, I mean the
Clay.
it was a print place that was, it was very good, you know. I mean, when I brought it in, they knew exactly how to do it, and they had obviously done many before. It was very professional, I thought.
Mhm.
And I want to say, it cost me maybe $50 for the Giclée.
Mhm. Yeah. Did
And
they,
they had me look at it once before they, did it, and the whole thing. So,
okay, did they charge you for scanning it or setting up the file or?
I think that was the total cost, was about $50.
You
I
got
don't know how much this is the only one I've ever done. I've never done a Giclée before,
okay,
or since.
yeah,
I've done them here, and Digital Arts does them, and they will give you a CD, so that next time if you want additional prints made, displays, you can just present them with the
Ah.
DVD that they give you.
yeah. And what did you pay for the CD, man?
Oh wow! I think the whole process was like $99, something like that.
Oh, you got a good deal too. Okay.
Yeah, well, it depends on the size of the work also.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've had them scan paintings and do color correction and things. And a lot of times you're looking somewhere between $150 to $200 for the digital file
Wow.
and the CD.
Wow.
And then depending on the size of print you're doing, obviously affects the price. If you're doing like full size prints, and let's say it's a 30 by 40, you might pay,
Wow.
$150 to $200 for the print.
well, as I recall, I think that was what I paid to get started with, and when I decided to have prints done, it was an additional charge on that. It seems like it was like $58 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would make it
I mean, there's usually when you give them a piece of artwork, okay, depending on the size of it and how they're going to have to scan it, whether they can actually put it on like a flatbed scanner or whether they're going to have to digitally photograph it. There'll be a different charge. Okay. But that charge includes, doing, the scan or the photo and then doing what they call a color correction, right? So they'll actually have the piece right there. They'll look at it, on the monitor. They'll actually try to bring the color balance and everything up to match the painting, so that you get, the right amount of contrast. And it does end up looking, just like the paint. And, and that gets, like I said, you're paying a little more money for that. But once you have that digital file, right, you don't have to go back to them to have those Giclée prints made. You can send it off to any number of places and have prints made. But, I mean, if they're going to do the scan, they'll probably give you a pretty good price on doing the prints as well. So, sorry about that. Any, any piece of work that you have that you want to get reproduced, it's a good idea to maybe spend a little bit of money, and have a digital file, put together on it, particularly if you're going to sell the painting or something like that. Because even if you do sell a painting, you still have the right to reproduce it because you created it. So if it's something that you want to market, you can't market it as an original, obviously, but you can do prints and, and so you can market your work that way if somebody buys you. Okay.
If I could say one more thing about this was kind of interesting. I belong to the Swannanoa Valley Fine Arts League. And this is where I would go to draw, and have an occasional painting lesson or whatever, But they would have a juried show every year. And so I got into the juried show. And within the juried show, they would have different categories, like portraits and that. and there were like 5 portraits there. And I thought for sure I was going to win something, you know, and I didn't win a thing with this. So, you know, you never know. On the other hand, I went at the same place, and I had a juried, I went into a juried show. That's the first time I had ever tried a juried show. It was the landscape. And the first year, I didn't even get into the show, and I was so hurt. You know, how could I not, you know, because I thought it was a cool picture. Well, the second year, and they had a different judge, and I thought, well, I never got into another show, which was a thing with these. You had to, you know, it could not have been in another show in order for it to get in. Well, it not only got in, but it won second place.
Mhm.
So,
At least
So
you
what-
know.
So what was your lesson?
I guess it's a matter of everybody's taste, but I felt like I was vindicated with the second show.
Well, and see, that's what,
All opinions.
yeah.
Personal opinions.
That's
I mean,
right.
you could submit the same piece of work to 10 different shows with 10 different judges,
Yep.
and you get totally different results. with
Yeah.
each and every one of them. Yeah, I mean, you know, anytime you submit anything, you know, it's best just to not have any expectations whatsoever, because you really don't know, you know,
Yeah.
unless you know a lot of the background behind the judge who's judging it, and you know that they like the type of work that you do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then don't ever be surprised if you don't get anything in the show. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that the work is bad or that it was, you know, not up to par. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like every show that I submit to, you know, I will, you know, let's say I submit 3 pieces and I get maybe 1 or 2 pieces in. And then I go back to that show and I walk around and I scratch my head. It's like, all right, well, those 2 pieces didn't get in, but how did this get in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, you know, it's subjective.
Opinion.
You know, you don't,
Yep.
Personal taste.
you know, you just don't know. You know, there's no guarantee as to, you know, what that judge is going to, you know, pick. So
Yeah. That's for sure.
that's unfortunately just, you know, that's just how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you.
all right. So, let's see. While we're here, let's see what we got. We got Susan Adair. Yeah, Susan is the one on the bottom of the list. Let's go with her. Okay. So, Susan, these are some of your drawings from Friday, right?
Yeah, I couldn't finish them, and I didn't have time after you sent them yesterday. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go in and finish. But I sent what I had done.
That's
So
fine.
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then looking at them, you know, and I'm just going to kind of thumb through them real quick. You know, some were a little more finished, some a little less, you know.
Right.
You know, here's the cicada, for example.
Yeah, that was the bug.
Yeah, the bug.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you roll a tape.
that was filming when I finished.
Uh-huh. Okay. But yeah, in looking at them overall, I mean, all right, you know, you're getting the drawings more complete. You know, you're getting further than you used to get, right? Remember back 6 months ago? And you know, and you're beginning to vary your line work a little bit, get a little bit of variety in the drawing, right? And you may not get
Right.
everything finished, but you get enough down. You look at it, you can see it, you recognize what it is, you know, and where things are. And the one thing I want to comment in particular, for the most part, your proportions have improved greatly
Mhm.
from a year ago. I mean, they really have. And particularly with like the human figure, things like that, the
Uh-huh.
proportions are getting a lot better. Okay. So that's good. You know, you're improving. See,
Thank you.
that's what we want to do. You know, I think. So yeah, everything's been really, really good. Okay. And
I'll read the ones that I finished over the week, but I just didn't have time.
right. And look, you know, just because you did these a week ago and you submitted, let's say this drawing, right? But let's say you go back in and you do more work on it and you get it to a place that you like it,
Okay.
you know, resubmit it next week. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Don't ever feel it's like, well, I can't submit that because I showed it once before and it was unfinished. No, I mean, you know, if you're working on something, I mean, you know, people show things that are partially done, or they get to a certain point, they get stuck, they get some feedback, right?
Okay.
That's really what this is all about. Is, you know, it gives you a chance to show something and then get people's comments. But
Thank you. Thank you.
anybody got anything else to say from the group?
I
I don't
really
know, but I
like,
just got here from physical therapy. Did you comment on my piece?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but
I came in late.
yeah, I know you and Jean came in late. That's why we started with Karen. Karen's bailing out at 3 o'clock. So
yeah, I am. But you know what? Go up one.
go up one.
Yeah, go up one of her pictures. Yeah, that one. I
Uh-huh.
really like that.
Uh-huh.
That's
I know.
very nice.
I know because it's a male nude. You win.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway,
But yeah, it is. It's very nice. I like it.
okay. Okay. So anybody else got anything to say about Susan's work before we move on down the line here? Come on. Now's your chance. All
Susan,
right.
you're getting better.
Say what now?
I said, Susan, you're getting better.
Yes.
Thank
Sweet.
you.
I agree with you.
I'm trying.
All right. Okay, so Jean, guess what? We're gonna do you next. Okay?
Oh,
That's pretty.
Yeah.
isn't that nice?
So now this is a watercolor, is that correct, Jean?
Correct.
Okay. And how big is this?
12 by 16.
Okay. And what inspired you to do the painting of the little boy with his hand in the creek?
Well, a long time ago, you went to a place that was too far for me to go, and you sent some pictures of some of the things from that park,
Uh-huh.
and I did it from that. I
Okay.
just thought I thought it was so cute with the little boy playing in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But I took down, it had, which I couldn't see from the photograph, built up like layers of rocks with the water going over it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And I just made it plain
Okay.
because I couldn't really see how it was built up.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
I adjusted that part.
Yeah. But you just sort of concentrated on the figure as kind of the main part of the painting, and the rest of it you just sort of constructed yourself. Okay. All right.
This is watercolor.
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I like the little boy.
Yeah, it's got a nice feel to it. And yeah, if you close your eyes and then you open your eyes slowly, okay, I want you to notice how your eye kind of moves.
It was at Something Park that was about 10 or 15 miles from here. There was a lot of walking to it. You described it.
Yeah, it's cascade.
Yeah, I think that was from that.
Mhm.
What I did after I mailed the picture, after I
Email.
shipped the picture to you, I put a little white against the darker thing on the right where the tree is growing on like an island section coming out.
Mhm.
Put a little white there because I noticed it didn't have enough, just a light touch, because I
Mhm.
really wanted
You wanted to get that one tree
Yeah.
to sit in front
but
of
I noticed it needed something there, and I did that, but I didn't retake the photograph.
you. Okay, that's fine.
I like the water. I think it's beautiful. It looks like it's
Yeah.
actually flowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you can kind of see rocks and things and.
I found it very difficult to do the little boy. I spent ages on that.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't
Well,
get it in
you got
the
it.
right position.
Yeah. Well, you know, what you're painting there is you're painting a little alien, you know, because their proportions, you know, and everything are totally different than, you know, painting an adult, you know. And they just, you know, they get those kind of short, you know, chubby little arms and legs and stuff. You know, it's not like an adult figure. So,
Yes.
but again, I want to kind of draw your attention back to the fact that if you close your eyes and then you open them, right? You know, kind of where I go to is I go back to this really sort of intense green and stuff in the background at the top of the painting. And then I go almost straight down to the white shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
That was my purpose.
yeah.
All the shirt was white, but I wanted to kind of go around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then from the white shirt, see, I go down the leg to the foot, and then I go across, and then I go back up that cast reflection
Tree shadow.
of the tree back up to the other tree to the top. And so everything kind of moves like really nicely through there. Okay. There's only one, you know, I guess, you know, one little thing I would kind of point out to you. Okay.
Okay.
And that is, you see the reflection or the light that's right over the little boy's head. You've got that dark
Yes.
that surrounds him, right? And then you've got that light that kind of wraps around. And it kind of follows the shape of his body and his head. See how it kind of goes up, kind of around his head, and then back down again?
Yes.
See, I would caution you against doing things like that, because that's what we call creating a halo. You know, it's where you
Yes.
surround a figure or something with a common color and value. And, you know, it just kind of pops out at you, you know, as something that doesn't quite look natural, right?
Do you think because of that halo effect that I ought to cut down, particularly I saw that light and I put the shadow of the tree to lead you back up,
Mm-hmm.
but that very lightest to the left of the boy
Mm-hmm.
needs to maybe go a little bit in a shady a sienna form, a little darker ochre, a little, you know,
Here-
darker to the left of his head.
Yeah, here's what I would do.
Okay.
Do you own some Prismacolor pencils?
I don't have pencils.
You don't have any color pencils?
I have some kind of colored pencils that I'd really, well, I think they're too hard. I'm not sure. I have a pastel pencil, but I won't use pastel on that.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, if you took,
I could take just some paint. There's a little bit of like a brownish, purplish, right above that, in the middle, above that white section, above the top of that halo, that's got that little deeper brown, almost in the tone, but a little lighter, perhaps in the pants of the boy.
yeah.
But I could take some of the color, like on the boy's pants, and put it on that, probably on that, the lightest section that's to the left of his head and goes out.
Yeah.
What do you
Let's
think
see.
of that?
All right. Well, I wouldn't do that. Okay. Here's why. Okay. What I would suggest that you do, you can do it with any medium, right? But you see where to the left of the boy's head, there's that very light area, right? That kind of goes,
Right.
you know, I mean, it's very bright and then it trails off to the left.
Correct.
If you could bring that over to meet the edge of his head, right?
Oh, all the way across.
Yeah, all the way to meet the edge of his head. You see, the value is so much lighter that his hair is going to look dark against it. So they're not gonna go together, right? But you're gonna get rid of that hump. around him. And it's going to look like the water flows behind him.
Maybe- All right, if you don't mind your cursor and show me what I think you're telling me.
Well, here, let me blow this up. So if you take this light right here, see, and you
Yeah.
bring it over to kind of meet his head,
Right,
maybe even a little bit behind him,
further.
right?
Okay.
See, it's going to take that away. See, because then it's going to look like the water is moving past him, is running behind his head, instead of hitting him in the back of the head and flowing over his head, you know, continuing on.
Just like go to the top part of the hair.
Well, yeah, kind of about, like the middle part.
Right in there.
of the
Yeah.
head. Yeah, like right in here. See, and just let it kind of run behind him, okay? Now, don't bring it down to the face, because the face and this are very similar in value and color, right?
Right.
You know, and you don't have to stay with this color. You could go with something that maybe it changes, you know, maybe it's more bluish
Uh-huh.
in this area, okay? It doesn't have to be brown, okay, or
Okay.
beige. But the main thing is that the value is lighter. Doesn't matter what the color is,
Right.
but the value is lighter. And
Now Charles has a light bluish color just below his hairline that you said to go through. I was thinking of
you.
toning it down below that lightest part. Go a little, no, below that. Right, yeah, up, right, up a little bit. There's a light that hits his hairline in the front, just above your cursor, right?
Right here?
Yes, of making that a similar color for that long, bright strip that I have.
Well,
What do
you can make it a gray like that, but make it a lighter value. Because, yeah, that's probably too dark. See, there's not enough contrast. See, and, you know, so if you can keep it about that value, so let's say that it was kind of a gray or something like this, or a blue like this, it would be a light enough value that you could see it, and it would break that up. And again, it would look like it's running behind his head instead of in
I
front.
mean, come out with something totally different, but I'm gonna try it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it doesn't matter what the color is. It's more about the value and getting the value to be about what that is. Okay?
But that value is okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably
Going
like,
over the dark, if I, continue that, it won't be that bright because it's going over that dark
Right.
blue.
yeah. Now, if you've got some China white or something.
Well, I got the
or the wash.
I bought white gouache.
Okay.
I put that with the yellow and see if I can pull it out.
Yeah, but you could take that gouache, put a little bit of any kind of color or watercolor in there, right? And the gouache is opaque, so it will cover over that dark.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah, just go ahead and tint it to the color you want before you put it down there. Don't just put straight white down there and then try to work
Right.
over it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So next we got Mr. John Gigliotti. Let's see.
Yes, sir.
John, you've been a busy boy.
Yeah, I've been prolific the last few weeks.
You have. And okay, so we're going to start with the inspiration first, okay, and then I'll show them.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay. Yep.
All right. So anybody tell me who that is?
Cicely?
Cicely, yes. Yes, we looked at his work just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so yes, this is Albert Cicely, and who was an impressionist. And again, look at the motion, look at the movement in the brushstrokes. And really nice color and contrast. And then, so, John saw that, got inspired, I think. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Okay. But then John did this.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got the composition, everything, and it's that 1-point perspective, so it's leading you in, pulling you back. Okay? Now, okay, and not that we're, trying to make it look exactly like Sisley's painting, but what do you think the things are that worked in his painting that aren't working in yours? And that's a question for you, John.
Well,
I think I've got the trees too intense.
Okay. I would agree with you. Okay.
I don't think they're intense enough.
Well, there's not enough contrasting value, for one. But the intensity of the green is kind of the same here, the same there, the same there, the same there. And so, yes, you need to vary the intensity. This tree being closer to you, let's look at his. See, he kept it very intense, right?
Right.
And generally really light in value. And the way that he contrasted that is that he made a dark, a fairly strong dark that was fairly neutral, right? So the dark sits back, this light pops forward, right?
There's also like 3 kinds of trees there, 3
Yeah.
different kinds.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a variety of different trees there. But again, it's how he treated the color and the value. Okay? He used this dark to more or less silhouette, the light of this tree and give it some contrast, which made all of this really pop forward for us, right? And it looks closer to us than any of the stuff back here. In this particular case, you see he incorporated quite a bit of that dark in the tree itself. But again, the color is still pretty intense, particularly in the light and the midtones. See? And then when he gets back here to the background, you see how he's muted all of these greens back here? Anything that's back there, in the background is.
Why would the one that's right in the center that you're on right now,
Yeah.
why would that not have been more muted because it was farther back? And yet
Well,
it works.
Yeah, the thing is, it is fairly muted, okay? If you look at those colors in there, now they're dark in value. Now don't confuse the value with the intensity of the color, right? There's not a lot of intense color in that tree. See, if you kind of squint your eye down, it kind of grays out a little bit, particularly when you compare it to the tree to the left, right? Everybody see that?
I have a hard
And
time when you say that.
it's cooler. It's cooler, isn't it, as well?
Overall, yeah, it's a cooler temperature. The color is overall more muted. It's not as muted as, say, this green back here, or these purples or blues, right? It's a little more intense than these, but it's nowhere near as intense as this.
What this picture has that John's didn't have, I think, is that white behind the figure is like a fence, and it's a white fence, and the trees behind it look to be darker and more manipulative as to leading to the figure. Then his gets really pale down there and doesn't have the white against the real dark
Right.
of the tree or the figure.
Yeah. Now, in your painting, you've got some light, but it's not nearly as light as what Sisley had. Okay. And so making that even lighter would have really made this the focal point and giving you more contrast. Okay. Does it still
Yeah,
work?
that's my intention, and that is lighter than it was originally.
Yeah.
I had lightened it with that idea in mind.
Okay. But yeah. And so this is still your focal point. It's still like the darkest dark, against one of the lightest lights in the painting.
Yeah.
Right. But
He's also saying dark at the tree behind it
Mhm.
is get very dark against that light that helps pull it, I don't know, back forward.
well, I guess what I would say to you,
Nice, beautiful. That's a watercolor, right?
Yes.
yeah, is, generally,
Mhm.
think about the value and the intensity, of each of those trees, as you put them down, and keep in mind where they are. The further back they are, the more subdued the color's got to get. The more you want them to come forward, the more intense, the color can be. The same thing is true with contrast and value, right? Closer to you, more contrast and value. Further back, less contrast and value. Okay?
Got it.
So,
I just whipped that out this morning, about an hour and a half.
okay.
Oh,
All right. So, and it's a good little painting. It's good composition, obviously. But, again, I would kind of encourage you either take this and try to modify some of those colors, particularly in these center two trees
Right.
here,
Right.
right? And gray them down a little bit, mute them or soften them. And, you can go different ways. This is watercolor. So you could go back and flood this area with water
Right.
and then just go back in with paper towel or sponge and, just kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
pick some of the color up, right? It's going to
Right.
knock
Yep.
down, the intensity. And in here, you can put more color in and maybe put in some darker values occasionally, particularly here at the bottom. Again, bringing the contrast up and making those come forward, right?
Mhm.
So it's, beauty. A lot of people are afraid of color, and I don't know why. Because quite frankly, you can continue to push and pull watercolor
Right.
longer than you can almost any medium. Because it's never permanent, unless you get it under glass. And it's not even permanent then, because if it ever gets wet, you've got a different painting.
you have to excuse me, I have to leave, but bye-bye, everybody. Hopefully I'll see you next week, okay?
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Kelly.
Thanks.
But you can keep playing with this. And I wouldn't touch the buildings. I wouldn't touch the figures. Even the fence, alongside there, I would leave all that bottom third of the painting alone. And I would just work a little bit more on trying to soften those two center trees and then creating more contrast in the ones the far left and the far right. They're closer to.
Yeah, I did notice that, but I wanted to get it off to you in time for
Okay.
so you'd have it. But yeah, I did notice that.
Okay. All right. So then let's go to this one. Now this,
It's beautiful.
yeah, it's a pretty painting. You want to go there and kind of float around on the river or the lake, right? So where did this come from, John?
That's another assistant. I thought I sent the original with that, didn't I?
I'm sorry, what?
That's another Sisley,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I sent the original with it. Right there.
Yeah, right
There.
here. Top. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, this one. Okay. Yeah. So again, it's the difference between your painting and his is the level of contrast. Okay?
Yep.
And so push your values, we know you're using watercolor, but that's no excuse because watercolor can actually get fairly dark, if you really intended to. So you can really push your values a lot further on this.
I had trouble photographing this. I don't know why. It seemed like the paper absorbed the light instead of reflecting it when I was trying to take the picture. I must have taken a dozen pictures, inside, outside, everywhere, and I could not get the picture. My picture is a lot brighter than this.
It's a lot brighter than the
Than
actual
this.
painting.
Then you can see on this one. It's closer to the original.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I could not take a picture of it. That's for some reason it always. And I don't know if it was a different paper that I'd used, and I was wondering if maybe the paper didn't reflect enough of the light.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I
never,
think I've sent you a couple of different ones of this.
well, yeah, this is the only one I got.
Oh, I sent another one today. I thought
Did you?
maybe I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
At any rate.
So my picture is brighter than this shows up here.
Okay. When you're saying brighter, you're saying more.
Yeah, closer to the original. The intensity of the light.
Closer to this.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Not quite that. No.
Okay. All right. Well, just, because the only thing I've got to go on is looking at,
Right. Right.
I would just say, try to get some more contrast, particularly like here in the trees. So there's more of a value contrast between these greens and things and the sky. I think if you got all of this a little bit darker overall, that it would, then it would make the sky look lighter.
Brighter, yeah.
Yeah, because if you squint your eye down, look at the contrast in the values, there's not a lot there in your painting. In Cicely's painting, you see you've got a fairly solid mid-tone shape. Even the light part of the tree is still kind of about a middle value, where the lower part, falls into that middle dark area, right? And see, then that lets the sky be lighter overall in value.
Correct.
So, and that you don't get that kind of separation.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Either way, though, I did have fun doing them both.
Well, good. Okay. And I want you to keep having fun. But I want you, and you don't have to do it with this painting. Let's say you
Right.
have this and you're happy with it just the way it is. Try it again, but try to push the values a little bit.
Right.
Okay. And see if you can get that contrast.
Yeah.
Right?
Cicely impressed me. I don't know why. It really impressed me.
Well, I mean, he doesn't get a lot of play.
No, right.
When you look at art history and stuff.
Right.
Really
Right.
doesn't.
Correct.
But I mean, he was just as active and just as important as Monet or any of the others.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it was a lot of his ideas about painting the landscape that really influenced all the others. So he was a fairly pivotal figure, and the Impressionist movement would not have been anything nearly the same without him. So, but you can look at his paintings and you can learn just tons of stuff, about brushwork and use of color.
Yes.
And how to use the brush to indicate.
Because that's not with watercolor. It's hard to duplicate brushwork from the oil.
Well, yeah, you can't get the same textures, but what you can do is you can lay in like a fairly large block of color, and then you can back into that color after you let it set up and dry a little bit. You could work back into it and create, some of the movement and textures that he got.
Yes.
Even in watercolor. So it's just those little touches, those little variations. So maybe you put down that kind of background, the kind of yellowy muted green, right? And then you go back into it with some yellows and some blues, kind of lighter to middle value blues. And then you come back in with some stronger darks, it's kind of dark blue or blue green. And you could probably get a fairly similar effect, to that. It's just, it's a little more brushwork, and
Right. Yeah.
going back in and hitting those areas with maybe 3 or 4 passes of paint. Okay. All right. So let's get on to your drawings here. So we got your roll of tape. Okay. And so you kind of figured that out. And you got the concept of, finding a vanishing point or a 2-point, perspectives with 2 different vanishing points, and, finding that, square or rectangle, and then, measuring the points. So, and I will be sending out some things on that to try to explain it better, give you guys some visual examples of it. So don't give up on me yet. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So here's the lady who was on the ladder. All right. And so,
Yeah.
you got the movement, your proportions are getting better. When you shade, you really got to kind of lighten up, on the shading so that you build it up more slowly. It's like you're bearing down and pushing, fairly hard to get that value down there quickly. And when you do that, you see it comes out looking a little bit kind of scratchy, right? So you got to build it up slowly so that it appears to be soft.
Well, again, the time element, these are pretty quick, I thought.
Yeah, I think that was about a 10-minute drawing.
They're all 10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing I would say to you, John, is it's not important to get
Correct. What you tell me every week.
yeah, it's more important to slow down. Whatever you do it as well as you can.
Right.
To practice those things that we're talking about.
I was working on trying to get the line work too, so the one side
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah.
a little lighter. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so you definitely get an indication of the light coming in from the right, hitting that hip and the outside of that arm and that top of that knee. Because again, you've gone back in and you really kind of modified and enforced those lines on the shadow side. And that's fine. That part works. The proportion works. It's when you get into this stuff right here. See? And, if you hadn't even gotten to that, it would have been a better drawing. Just with the line work, right? So that's what I'm saying is, if you're going to be putting down shading and stuff like that, don't worry about getting it all done,
Yeah.
But work on how you put it down and making it work, rather than just kind of rushing through and just, okay, there's a shadow there. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to get you to work on that finesse thing a little bit. Okay. Okay. And again, all right. So you've got, the male figure here. And again, your proportions, things like that are all getting, better. And you didn't really get into doing a lot of shadows and stuff on.
No.
That's fine. Then we have our owl. Owl. Yeah. And again, okay, when you look at this, okay, you understand the kind of bird that it is. It's an owl. I guess the mood or the feeling, that you get from this is you got a real kind of active, busy sort of, feel to this because of the way that you use the pencil. It doesn't look calm and sedate. It looks,
Right.
There's some tension in there, right? And that's not a bad thing,
Okay.
remember there's this guy, by the name of Egon Schiele, right? And,
Yes.
Yeah, and look at what he did with the human figure, and it did it looked a little edgy.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, here we have the cicada. All right, so here's the thing about our good friend the cicada. You didn't do so well on the proportions on him. You made him
No.
really, really. You kind of cut off the whole thorax thing with him, or the abdomen. But I mean, again, you're looking at the overall shapes and things like that. You see the shapes of the wings and all. And I know that one of the hard things here was that with the wings where they were, they're transparent. And so you
Right.
see the body through them, right? But you can't see it as well as you can, the head, and the areas in the front. So it's, again, you got to kind of play with that pencil, and you got to be a little more subtle with it, so that it kind of gives the feeling.
Yeah, this I thought was difficult.
Yeah, everybody loved the bug. I put that up there, and everybody went, you got to draw that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you got to do things, just like that.
Right.
Yeah, here's the other version that you see.
Yes, yeah, that's brighter now. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I sent you.
Yeah, this is a much brighter version. Okay,
Yeah.
closer. Okay. Yeah, and see your trees do look a little bit slightly darker, so that at least there's a.
Yeah, it's the same. I didn't touch the painting, but just the photograph. I say it was just I don't know why I kept having difficulty getting that.
Yeah.
But this is more true to what mine looks like.
Yeah, I like the color in this much better. Yeah. It's
Yes.
not nearly as kind of
Yeah.
neat and muddy. So, all right, and then we have this guy. You have a.
Yeah, I was just sort of playing, but trying to do perspective again. I would think I sort of missed the board in the back a little bit there.
I don't know.
Horizon.
It kind of looks a little bit like the house that I live in, in Smyrna.
Oh, okay.
This part of that house does that. It's this big kind of rectangular block that goes up and it has a slope
Yeah.
on it to go to one side. So, there are houses like that, particularly those cedar contemporaries. So,
Yes.
all right. So Eloise. There she is.
Yes, I was trying to get the mute off,
You're trying to get what?
the mute
you.
and the picture, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is where you were painting when we went out to Heritage Park, right?
Yes,
Yes.
trying to give you a photograph, but the only one that I had that looked like the one I painted had that easel on it, so I had to do that.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay. I mean, you're painting. The only difference is you took out the easel. So.
Yeah, it
And
looks
so-
kind of washed out there. The picture is kind of more colored.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, believe me, I understand exactly, why that is. And one of the reasons is that the paint was still wet. So it's.
Oh, yes, it is. It's
candy.
still wet.
Yeah, it's still shiny and glossy. And so even though it doesn't look that way, when you take a picture with a phone or a camera, it picks up all those little highlights, on the texture of the canvas. And until it dries, it's going to do that. See how much contrast,
Oh, yes, okay.
and that's all just the weave of the canvas. All right. So believe me, I feel your pain, I know exactly.
I like your trees. Are you doing speckling?
Stippling.
I don't
Stippling?
know what I'm doing. I don't really know how to paint trees.
Mm-hmm.
They really are nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does. It looks like you're using just the tip of the brush, and you're just kind of.
I was.
Right. Okay.
I tried to show atmosphere. I tried to make the ones in the,
Uh-huh.
in the distance look a little fade it out more, but I guess you can't tell that either.
Right. Well, yeah. In this particular case, I mean, you can see the texture of the tree, and the thing I would have done here, with this tree that's behind it, is, I would have maybe filled it in, a little more solidly and let it be darker, and let this one be lighter, or vice versa. You can take it either
Can
direction.
you repeat that, please? I didn't understand.
This tree that's coming up behind the one here in front that
Yes.
looks kind of soft. Yeah, I probably would, just paint that in more solid so that there's less contrast in light and dark here. And then just go back and soften the edges of it. But, in this case, because of the value of the tree here, I would just make this one darker. See, and just make it a shape. And then I just soften the outside edge a little bit on it. And that would get it to sit back, behind the other tree, because right now the color and the intensity of it, pretty close, The other thing you could do is you could keep it more in this range right here, where the color and the value isn't as dark,
Okay.
and the color is more muted. See?
Okay. All right.
And that would push it back as well. Okay. But you've got a great little scene going on there, and it's nice, a nice composition. The way your eye gets pulled in, to the actual landscape, and you kind of go around the trees, and you lose the walkway back there. And that, again, it pulls your eye in and moves you around, and then from there, you go up the tree and over into this upper left-hand corner, and then back across and down to the water again. So the eye moves real nicely, real freely through the whole composition. And
That was your suggestion.
it was.
Yes, you told me to go over there. There's a waterfall over there.
Oh, well, yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't tell you how to put it on the canvas. You did that on your own.
Okay.
And you did a good job. So,
Thank
right.
you.
But,
Way to go, Eloise.
say what?
Way to go, Eloise.
Yay.
Oh, thanks.
All right, so let's see. Then we got Mr. Bob Homer, last but not least, right? So this is from Cascade. Bob, you want to tell everybody about your...
Oh, I'm making progress on her. This is Dominique. And I've worked on the rocks some more to make them look more rocky. I've tried to give a little reflection in the water a little bit to give some depth to the water in front, and try to kind of smush the rocks in the background so that you don't see a whole lot of definition, but there's something back there, but you don't know exactly what. And I worked on the trees, so that's where I am on her.
Okay. I have one suggestion for you.
Oh, please.
Okay, you know that dark right in the middle of the canvas at the top?
Way back to the back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the
Yeah. Tunnel.
Yeah. It can be a dark, but it doesn't have to be that dark.
Okay.
See, I would probably not make it any darker. Where's my cursor? Yeah. We probably wouldn't make it any darker really than like right here.
Where's that? I don't see the cursor.
Right here in the center on the rock.
Oh, okay.
Gray right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Okay.
probably wouldn't get any darker than that.
Okay.
And if you knock that back in value, it's going to sit further back in the distance. And it's just, it's a simple shape. People can look at it and go, okay, so it's an opening wall, or they can make whatever they want to out of it. It doesn't matter. But it, because of the value here against this light, you're getting really a lot of competition. Because this is as strong as your lights and darks in this area, which is really where you want to focus on, right?
All right. Okay,
And so I would just kind of knock that back a little bit. And, you know, in fact, if you just take your thumb, you kind of cover it over, the whole painting works a lot better without it. So,
okay.
I like your rocks.
yeah, not that you have to get rid of it, it's just take it, make it less important.
I think
Okay.
those rocks must change day by day because Bob's got them gray and mine are kind of tan looking. And some of the photos I've seen have some gray and some tan. So it must change according to the sunshine. So,
Well, yeah, it would be time of day. Yeah.
oh, okay.
So probably they get a little grayer, you know, probably more toward like late afternoon. And they're probably a little bit, you know, browner or warmer, you know, in the morning
Mm-hmm.
and not quite as gray. So, but yeah, the color will shift all throughout the day. Welcome to plein air. All right. So this is the girl on the ladder. Okay. Now we got her. All right. There's no happy medium there. Huh? She's either going to be all on or all off. Okay. So you got, you know, the movement and the general proportion, you know, of her. And does it feel like she's above our eye level? Yeah, for the most part it does. Okay. As far as, you know, putting down value, things like that, you know, it's, your values are kind of flat. You know, you've got light and you've got shadow, but there's not a lot of variation, you know, in the shadow. So that's about the only thing I would work on is, you know, getting used to, you know, varying your values as you move around a form like a leg or something like that. And I know, you know, you got 10 minutes. And you're trying
Yep,
to get
that's where I was going.
right. And I know you're trying to get it all down, everything. But hey, again, yeah, maybe you don't finish it all. You know, maybe you just really get the value and stuff, you know, like the cat shadow on her neck, under her shoulder, right? And let us figure out the rest. And then of course, you know, this is kind of, again, you know, goes back to what I was talking to John about is, you know, you can lay values down. But what you don't want is you don't want them looking really scratchy, you know, which these do. And, you know, it's like lighten up on the pencil, don't be in quite as much brush, you know, and, you know, build it up, you know, start off lighter, go back over it a couple of times till you build it up and it looks soft instead of, you know, like Brillo, okay?
Okay.
Let's see.
Are these the ones that you do in 2 or 3 minutes, or do you have 20 minutes on these, or what?
This is a 10-minute
10 minutes?
10-minute drawing. Yeah. Yeah. And again, Gene, it doesn't matter how long the drawing is, okay? It's like, once you get the general intent and sort of the proportion down, you know, you could finish the top half of the drawing and not even get to the bottom, and it's fine. You know, what I want you guys working on is, you know, getting the proportions and, you know, getting the composition set up, at least with, you know, some tentative line work. And then after that, you know, if all you focused on was up around the head and the shoulders, but you got the values and you laid those values down nicely, you're going to learn more that way than you would just rushing through going, you know, okay, shadow on this side of the arm, right? You know, but take some time and really kind of build it, you know, build it and get it to feel, you know, like it's actually doing what it should do, which is make that arm look more three-dimensional, okay? You know, you got to work within the time you got, So there's things that are important. There's things that not that important. All right. So here's your tape and your bottle. Okay. And again, you got the concept of finding that rectangle and having your object going back to two different vanishing points in this case. So, and I will be sending some more stuff out about that. Let's see. Here's your cicada. Come on. Turn this. There we go. Ah. All right. And so again, now here's drawing. Okay, you didn't complete it, but at least we see, okay, you put down some perspective lines. You're trying to look, make the body of this move backward, as it recedes from you, and that, the head area come forward. Okay. And even though this isn't a finished drawing, you can see sort of the process and the thinking behind it. So that's good.
Line work of the drawing.
Pardon?
I like his linear work on the drawing. It's light and then it's a little darker in places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
He made some good observations, there, even though he didn't get everything down. That's fine.
Right.
All right. And then we know this girl. In fact, I've been trying to get a hold of her, but I think she's working now, so she's hard to get a hold of.
I corrected what you suggested around the nose and the eye socket on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
I gave it more flesh tone area. I worked on the shadow under her chin a little bit more, and I worked on her the complexion around her cheek and the bright spot on her cheek a little bit. I worked on her lips a little bit to make her a little bit happier than what the picture shows.
Well, oddly enough, though, Bob, all that stuff that you did to it, and it actually looks a lot more like her, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah. Yeah, that, getting that distance across the bridge of the nose, right, was real critical to getting, kind of the way she looked. So.
Well, that makes a big difference just in the look of the painting itself. I don't know the woman, but just looking at the painting, it makes more sense.
Yeah, but it's like you had the structure of the lower part of the face and the forehead, everything sort of intact. It was right in there, in those eye sockets, that you were having, the issue of just getting them placed, the right distance apart. But you kind of got her now, so that's good.
All right. Me and Grace will be buddies. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yes. Did you have you sent this to her?
No, I don't have her. I don't have information to get to her.
Do you mind if I send her a copy of this?
Oh, please. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure she'd like to see how it ended up. Okay. All right. So that's about it. See, I had the same problem as Eloise. I was trying to photograph this while it was wet, and so it looks a lot lighter than it actually is. But that's kind of how it turned out. And this was over at Heritage Park.
That looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun little place to go paint, kind of hang out. It was a beautiful day. Really couldn't have asked for better weather out there. And then where you guys did all separate drawings, I stuck them all together. So, and then I made this flying around. We had flying objects, and we had a couple standing there. So.
Looks like he has on glasses. The cicada.
Oh, well, those are his eyes. They're very buggy looking. Which they should be. He's a bug. Yeah. Yeah, you start looking at it's really weird because their eyes are so far apart, and they're kind of mounted on the side of their head, and they're not round, but they're this elongated oval shape, which is really weird shape. But yeah, they're interesting critters. So anyway, I just made him fly instead of lay there. But yeah, so that was my stuff on Friday, and that's about it. So, and we got, well, it's only 3:32. Ta-da! So anybody, you got anything that we need to cover before we go away?
It's Morgan Falls this Thursday, correct?
Yes, the upper part of Morgan Falls.
Okay.
And I'm going to be bringing some stuff with me, and trying to walk you guys through, setting up a still life. That'll probably start at like 11 o'clock, probably from about 11 o'clock to noon. I'll be doing that. And if you guys want to paint still life, that's fine. If you guys want to paint, the landscape, that's okay too, right? Whatever you want to do. Right?
You're too flexible, Charles. You're just too flexible. That's all there is to it.
Well, it comes with old age. I just, I'm not in much of a mood of telling anybody that, you got to do anything. Because the fact is, you don't. So, and it's like the older I get, the more crotchety I get. More of an old geezer. So.
Well, hopefully none of us will reach that point, Charles.
Hopefully, no. Hopefully none of you are as bad as I am. All you got to do is talk to Sabrina. She's constantly telling me I have a bad attitude. So, what can I say? Anyhow, it's been fun. Been nice seeing all of you. Thank you for coming. And I guess, I don't know how it is where you are, but it's sunshiny out here in Wyden.
Sun is shining. Yeah.
Sun shining here in Kennesaw.
Summertime.
All right. So,
Okay, again, I won't see you all tomorrow, but I guess I'll catch up with you Friday.
okay. All right. Well, we're going to be talking about a couple of different painters tomorrow. And, hopefully, some of you can make it. All right. So I guess we'll see you in the morning around 10 o'clock.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye,
everybody.
everybody.